Everybody. My name is Michael Mativa. I'm the chair of the State of Oregon Research Academy. And this is our spring webinar, the State Library of Oregon Resources. And we've got Natalie Brandt and Jerry Curry here presenting. So a little bit of information. Let's see, right off the bat, this webinar is being recorded. The video will go on our website, oregonresearch.org, as well as our YouTube channel within a few days. Usually we're able to turn that around pretty fast. And then myself, and we've got one other member of the SORA Executive Committee, Kate Kempany, is going to be monitoring chat for any follow-up questions. So feel free to throw those questions into chat, and they will be addressed once the speakers are taking questions. So that is it on that end. Thank you all very much for participating, for being here. Thanks to our presenters. We've got Natalie Brandt, who's the reference coordinating librarian at the State Library of Oregon. She specializes in legislative research, health and education policy, and government information. Natalie's been with the State Library for about 8 years. And we also have joining us Jerry Curry, who's been reference librarian at the State Library of Oregon for over 27 years, specializing in legislative research, sciences, and government information. He also serves as an editor of the library's eClips electronic news clipping service. So without further ado, I will hand it over to you guys to take away. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it.
All right, most welcome. Thank you. Hi, my name is Jerry Curry. I'm going to start. Yes, I have been here 27 years. When I first started, they were just rolling out the Gutenberg presses. I think those were just on their way out when I walked in. So seen a lot of change in state government. The way we're going to do this today is I'm going to do a briefest of brief overviews, because really what we hope that you take out of something like this is that you've got friends in the library business, and we want you to know what we do, and then know what you should expect when you turn to us and stuff. And I would also invite anybody anywhere, but particularly those probably easier for the folks at Salem, come by and let us know. I'd love to give you a tour of the building. Our second floor is reopened again since the governor moved back to the Capitol. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to do a brief overview, very brief, and then Natalie's going to show you one of the resources that we have a subscription to that we think is most useful to you in this context, although we have lots of other things as well, which I will very lightly touch upon. And at the very end, I'm going to loop back in and talk a little bit about legislative stuff, but mostly kind of put things in context of where to go for what. So the first thing I want to mention, hopefully I'm sharing my screen. I see the red band, so I think I am good. Anyway, as where to find us, a lot of people are going to go straight to the oregon.gov/library environment. We are there, but and we have kind of our divisions pulled out. But this is more for the public than anyone else. But if you get in the Oregon.gov environment, we're over here under state employees. I do want to put a plug in, since we are people that have relatives, neighbors, friends, things like that, that may be reading impaired. That could mean a sight disability. It could also mean a mechanical disability. We have a Talking Books program that puts books on USB drives. Players are given out to people, and they can basically be readers as long as absolutely possible. And if that is any interest to you or your neighbors or friends or anything, let us know. Again, Natalie and I are happy to take questions far afield, anything. But I do always want to mention the Talking Books program when I'm in a crowd. So anyway, if you go into the Oregon.gov environment, we're here under resources for state employees, and we kind of have broken things out of the main things that folks do that you would do, like activating your account. And that takes me to my next point. Everyone needs to have an activated account in order to really fully use the State Library of Oregon. It takes about 5 seconds to literally get an activated account. Anyone with an OR number or a CW number is going to be able to get an activated account. All you have to do is come over here to log in, type in your OR number and a password that you want, and it would be good if you looked at our terms of service and then do submit. and basically you're going to have an activated account. We also can extend services to any interns you guys would have or consultants you guys would have for the length of service that they're basically serving your agency, and we'll just need a state person to vouch for them. Let me talk for just one moment of the strengths of the state library. The state library's collections focus in a few areas. One would be kind of the Oregoniana, the history of the state, things like that, natural history, political history, stuff like that. We're not a be-all, end-all library with respect to a collection of that, but we have a huge historical collection. And if you guys need items in that subject, we're happy to add them to our collection as well. We're also a federal depository, so we have a very large collection, which if you go on the tour, I'll be happy to show you the basement, where it's very, very tall stacks of federal documents. With respect to government documents, either federal or state, and I'll pivot to state in a second, more things are obviously published electronically than are published in paper. But you do need that old paper. Because people are doing historical research and stuff. And on that very same subject, we are the Oregon Documents Repository. We get anything that your agencies publish as a publication. We have publications all the way back to territorial days here. And let me show you very quickly on how to find some of this stuff. I'll show you something new, a new topic, and an old topic. And at the very end of this, I am going to talk about what the difference is between a publication and a record and where to go for what. There's a thing that happens sometimes with stagnating water. As water gets heated, you get an algae bloom. And the algae goes through its life cycle and it produces toxins. These are known as.
You muted, Jerry.
How did I get muted? Thank you. Say you are a state employee that works with cyanotoxins. As a matter of fact, I did a public presentation to the person who got hired to do that for the state. You can see what we have for cyanotoxins. It's a relatively new topic. It has been around for a long time, but in Oregon, it's not particularly prevalent until maybe the last 10 to 20 years. When you use our catalog, you can, what's called faceted over here. You could break down like who the authors were, what collections. If it says Oregon Documents Collection, that means it's published by state agencies, when the publication dates are, and you can basically limit your search. On a newer topic like this, almost everything is going to be an online document. That means we either got it digitally, or if we got it in paper or something, we scanned it, which is one of the big activities of the state libraries. We're basically digitizing this back file of state publications that we have for all time. So this is an example of a newer topic. If you wanted any one of these, all you have to do is click it, and essentially electronic access, click it, and there's the item. You don't need to ask for it or anything like that. Let's do something that's a little bit broader for just a second. Say I was interested in the Columbia River and steel Chinook salmon. And just a second. This one's going to be an older topic. Obviously, it's going to stretch for a lot longer period than cyanotoxins. Here we go. Very easily, I can narrow this down. So say I'm looking for historical information, maybe from the 20s and the 50s. I need some fish counts. And I'll stop there. And 1 second. There we go. And in this case, some of them may be scanned and available online. And if they're not, you're easily able to get these. You're just going to click request, and we're going to send those items to your workplace for a checkout period of 28 days. Now, if you're still not finding what you want, there's other catalogs that we have. There are catalogs that search library catalogs throughout the country, and we can get you things that way as well. Let me go back to the state library one more time. If there's something that we don't have in our collection, you're just going to find it wherever, or you can click this request for new materials, and you can ask for it. A lot of the library catalogs and stuff will link to an ordering service, and that's what request for new materials is here. There's a couple tabs I want to draw your attention to. Sometimes you can I'm going to show you our databases very, very, very quickly. But sometimes you can find journal articles full text in our anywhere from, we have about 90 to 110 databases at any one time. I think we're over 100. We'll take a quick look at that in just a second. But sometimes you can find the journal articles directly in the database. And oftentimes, if you're looking for a specific publication, let me do a publication here. Journal of Educational and Behavioral Statistics. Hope I spelled that right. And that's one of the reasons you have to log in. For some reason, it kicked me out of what I was in, but we do have the Journal of Educational and Behavioral Statistics. I told you I did this just a little bit ago. And it is in one of our databases, full text from 94 to present. Sometimes there's a delay, a 4-year, we call it an embargo period. If you run into something, you needed something newer than 4 years, you're just going to order it from us and we're going to get it for you almost immediately. In our databases, like I said, we usually have about 90 to 120 databases at any one time. 111 databases. These include journal databases, databases on language skills, a database that Natalie's going to show you in just a moment. If you have that many databases, you kind of have to break them down into different subjects or different formats. And what I always say at these presentations is, you've got a friend in the library business. I don't know how much time you have to do research, but if you start running up against a limit or you're getting frustrated, that's when I want you to turn to us and say, hey, state librarians, help us, reference librarians, help us find what we need. We don't write white papers and things like that, but we're going to generate lots of citations for you. We're going to get you those articles that you find, and hopefully you're going to take off from there and do great things with state government. All right, I am going to turn it over to my colleague, Natalie. Let me stop sharing, and then I'll share again at the end. So thank you very much.
Hey, hello, everyone. So I am, hopefully my screen is sharing as well. I think so. I am going to talk about a specific database, which is our O'Reilly database. Have any of you heard of O'Reilly or used it? You can just like hit the hand raise or thumbs up or whatever. Just curious. Oh, cool. Okay. Yay. People have. Awesome. Okay. So O'Reilly is our professional development learning platform for state employees. And we actually teach an entire like hour-long class just on O'Reilly. So I just want to make sure you're all aware of it. And I'm going to show you some of the major things. But I did also want to point out that on our homepage here, this little calendar shows all of our upcoming classes. So if you just hit show all, it will give you all the classes that we teach through Workday. So you can see like Pronunciator is our language learning tool. So if that was something you're interested in, I would highly recommend that class. Jerry does a legislative overview, and he's going to talk a bit about that at the end. And like, here's the introduction to O'Reilly. So we have a lot of classes that we teach through Workday broadly. If any of those are of interest to you, I just wanted to point those out. But O'Reilly. So to get to O'Reilly, hop into our browse databases. You can just search for it up here. I tend to just click on the letter O because it's the first one that pops up. So hop into O'Reilly, access database, and this is when I'm already logged in, it remembers me, but this is where it would ask for your state library login. But then for O'Reilly, you do need a secondary registration. This is just something that the vendor requires, and it also makes sense because a lot of what you do in O'Reilly, you want to keep track of your progress. You can earn certificates from courses you take, things like that. So you just need to register for a secondary account using your state email address and setting a password, very straightforward. But I will mention, don't Google O'Reilly and sign it. It'll pull you into a free trial, and then your email address will be trapped in that free trial. Make sure you go in through the state library website. It happens a lot, and just, we can fix it pretty easily, but it will be a pain for you. So this is what the dashboard looks like. And in O'Reilly, there's a lot. Ebooks are kind of its bread and butter. So digital books, but then there's also audiobooks. There are guided courses that you can take, videos you can watch, live events you can sign up for and attend, where you can interact with the instructor, and it's sort of like a conference session that you can join virtually. And a lot of what O'Reilly has is it's like a lot of tech information. So like systems analysis, UX design, things like that. But then there's also a section of like the more soft skills, like leadership skills, public speaking, project management is a really popular one. So it kind of runs the gamut. And let's see, I'm just going to type in Tableau, because I think a lot of SORA folks use this tool. And so I'm just doing a very broad search, but let's see. So 2,376 results. But over on the left, you can choose the format that you're interested in. So the books are all going to be ebooks, like I mentioned, and I'll show you those in a second. But you can, so I mentioned the live courses. Let's see. Of course, there aren't any scheduled right now, but if there was one scheduled, you could just sign up for it, and then, join the course and take it like a conference session. And then once you're done, you get a certificate that is saved on your account. So, your manager could assign something to you through O'Reilly, and then you could show them the certificate and say, hey, I got it. Courses, these are more like on-demand options. So like this Tableau Masterclass 2024. If it'll open for me. There we go. So you can see that this entire course, it's 8 hours and 26 minutes long. There's 8 sections. There's 9 quizzes. You can schedule reminders, for however you want, however often you want to jump in and take one of the sections and quizzes. Here's where it'll, talks about earning your badge. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You can take these courses at your leisure and brush up on these skills. And you'll notice that everything I open, that they'll have this add to playlist option. So playlists, you create them, and they're kind of just like queues of material that you can organize by subject. So I could add this to one of the playlists I already have, or create a new one. And so you can see like the list of my playlists. So like my public speaking playlist, my project management playlist. I've been creating playlists for specific positions at OHA so they can assign them to new employees. So it's very useful for just organizing your information within O'Reilly. There are also audiobooks. A lot of folks are very excited about those. I don't know about an audiobook for Tableau, though. I feel like that would be kind of strange, because it seems like you need to be kind of hands-on for that. But, I see. It's still got these checked. Okay. So there are a few audiobook options, actually. I'm kind of surprised, but that's cool. So I'll also mention there is an app for O'Reilly that you can sync to your account, because, if you're using an audiobook, you might want it on your phone. And O'Reilly is approved by DAS IT to be downloaded onto your work phone, but your IT department would probably have to do it for you, I believe. And Jerry, if that's not correct anymore, feel free to jump in, but I'm pretty sure that's how they're doing it now.
You can also download it to your own personal device, because this is going to be tied through your library password, and then you're creating a password through O'Reilly that ties back to us. So you could do it that way as well.
Yeah. Yes, true. So I'm going to choose the books and just open up an audio or a ebook quickly. Or slowly as it thinks. So yeah, again, it gives you, it's 622 pages, average time 12 hours to complete. You can go over and pop into any of the chapters. You don't have to read the whole book, of course. So you can pop in, and then there's all of these kind of cool options. So if you want to remember a specific point that you read, you can highlight the sentence or paragraph or however much you want. And then just highlight it with your mouse, and then you can choose whichever color, highlight it. You can also add a note so that you remember why you highlighted it. And then those highlights will be saved in your account. So that's a nice option to keep track of things, of course. There's also some viewer settings so that you can, make the book look what is most comfortable for your reading preference. This little gear shift will allow you to do that. And speaking of your profile, this little person up in the top right will open up all of your settings and options. So here's also where you can access all of the playlists you've created. Here are where your highlights are going to be, your settings. So this is also under settings is where you can sync your devices. So this is where if you download the app, you'll connect it here to your phone or your tablet so that it knows you're coming in through the state library's account. There's also the option for assignments. So under this drop-down, assignments, you can create them or someone create them for you. I created one for Jerry. And you basically can just add, so it's a public speaking assignment for Jerry. It would take him 7 hours and 30 minutes to complete it. And you can see I added videos, I added an audiobook, a regular book, just a chapter from a book. And you can just create these and assign them to folks and vice versa. So, if there's something that, you want one of your employees to kind of brush up on, you can say, hey, can you please just complete these by whatever date? And then you get emails on their progress, and you can kind of, follow along and make sure they're doing what you asked. Let's see. There's also, one thing I will say about the live events, if there's one happening and so Microsoft Excel pivot tables is happening on March 25th, it's at 6 a.m. And I'm like, I do not want to start this learning about Excel at 6 a.m. You can still sign up for this class if there's openings, which there's still 169 spots. If you sign up, even if you don't make it, you will still receive the recording, and then you can watch it later. You won't have the same interaction ability with the instructor that you would live, but you can watch the video, and once you finish watching it, you still get your course badge. But I always want to point that out because I'm not sure why, and Jerry, if you know, also jump in, but you can't like search past recordings of live events. You only can access the recordings if you signed up for it.
That's
Um,
correct.
yeah, I'm just not sure. I don't know if it's like a copyright issue or just something with the presenters, but it's a little hack if you don't want to start learning about pivot tables at 6 a.m. Um, There's also, so this little answers button. This is where if you have a very specific question, you can ask it. It's AI, but it's AI that is contained within O'Reilly. So, it's not like ChatGPT just pulling random stuff from the entire internet. Anything that it's pulling is only vetted and within O'Reilly. So you can feel very confident um, when you ask. Okay, so how do I create pivot tables in Excel? And then when I click ask, it's essentially searching every single thing in O'Reilly. And so it'll give you answers and then it will link to the source of those answers, these little highlighted numbers. So you can click on that and it'll take you into, looks like this is probably an ebook. Yeah, so it'll link right to it for you. So if you just have a very quick question and you're like, I don't want to search through all of these books just to answer this, the answers will probably do it for you. Yeah, so I think that's what I wanted to just show you all from O'Reilly. I mean, there's so much in here. I would, just recommend setting up an account and starting, playing around and looking for areas that would be of interest to you. Any questions about O'Reilly before I hand it back to Jerry? All righty.
Yeah, a couple things to add about O'Reilly is that when you have the app, you're going to download, for example, ebooks or presentations to your device. You might think, aha, I have this forever. When you leave state government, it's going to make a call. If you leave state government, it's going to make a call, or you cancel your O'Reilly account or something. It's going to make a call back to O'Reilly, and if you're not a documented library patron and an O'Reilly patron through us, it will take it away. So the stuff, you're not going to have it forever, but you will have it forever as long as you're a state employee. Another thing about the playlists that are handy is there are experts that create playlists. So when you want to learn a new topic, it's not a bad idea to find those experts, and then you can kind of accelerate your learning path. Two other things, I think maybe SORA ought to contemplate if there's any group skills that people need. I remember when I was really involved with this organization, we would do surveys and determine like the topics of presentations, but that might also highlight a need for the group of we really need to learn X, Y, and Z emerging topics. And you guys could go down that assignments route and learn as a group. It doesn't have to be everybody at SORA, but it could be subsets of people. And you can have directed learning, and we can help you with that. I think that's a really effective use. Well, let me tell you the one hang up I think about O'Reilly is, and you might be thinking of it in the back of your mind, does it tie to Workday? No, not yet. There's a bunch of these learning platforms out there, and they're all trying to compete with each other. And the Workdays of the world, Bamboo, and all these other HR kind of systems, people want that tie, so the demand is there, and they're working on it, and somebody's going to get to it first, and then they're all going to jump along. So it's on their burners. They are working on. I know there's programming efforts to do it. You will see it tied to Workday. You can self-report learning in Workday, so you could put it in there physically, manually, but it will tie to Workday, but it just does not tie to Workday today. Earlier I was not logged into a system. Why you need a username and password here is so basically we know who you are. And so when I ran my Journal of Education to Behavioral Statistics, it basically shows, yes, I have it in this database. Here it is. And you need to be logged in and able to access our resources, our journal databases, and including O'Reilly. Now, my understanding is that Emily Donaldson did a presentation with you guys in December about the State of Oregon Law Library. So I just want to reiterate the importance of perhaps getting a State of Oregon Law Library account. It's free. Might be a little bit outside the realm of what researchers do, but sometimes you need background material. You need to know the hows and whys for doing something. I teach a class. I teach it a lot during sessions, but there'll be a class called the Legislative Overview. It's a 2-hour class. I'm teaching it in April, and they'll teach it probably about every other month through the rest of the year. And this essentially is where I kind of go into, again, way more detail about where to find where for what OLIS is good for, what state archives is good for, what the State of Oregon Law Library has. And then I kind of talk about the importance of doing comparative research. If essentially, a lot of times we're doing research for a reason, and a policymaker is going to take that research and start to craft legislative language around it. We're going to try to get something passed in the legislature. Well, wouldn't it be great to know what the other states are doing? And we have resources that will help you do that. We have newspaper resources that will help you do that. And there are some resources, again, available through the State of Oregon Law Library that I'm going to show you in just a second. I'm not going to really show them to you because I bet Emily covered it, but I just want to show you, remind you that you have access to this stuff. So again, at the State of Oregon Law Library, you're going to want an account. There is a resource that they have at the State of Oregon Law Library called Hein Online. There are hundreds of databases in here, but the ones I want to draw your attention to are Session Laws Library. Let me get down here to Oregon. And really, between O'Reilly and Hein and our ebook collections and stuff, what we're doing is really we're saving space. You don't need volumes and volumes of paper anymore because you have access to it at your desktop. So in the not too distant past, agencies would have a whole wall of Oregon laws. Well, that's online for you from back to 1841, which is territorial, to 2024, and it'll be updated shortly with the most recent. So say you're studying an ORS, you're looking at the history of when it changed, you need to look at the Oregon legal history, the Oregon laws, you've got it there. Maybe you need to look at something older than ORS. Well, there's a database they have called Search State Statutes Historical Archive, and these are codification schemes, including Oregon, that predate the ORS. But one of the most useful things I think that's fantastic, I expect the 10th edition will be out shortly, is this National Survey of State Laws. What are all the other states doing on the topic of, I'm not going to do a bad topic, we'll just say civil shoplifting. And this, what it will do is it shows you every state and their codes and what the damages are, the penalties and stuff. It gets you that overlay of what's going on in all the different states to address an issue. And that's a really great starting point to maybe do the research you've done, the hard analysis, but how big is the problem in Oregon? What are they doing? Alaska's similar or Washington's similar. What are they doing? And then you can kind of tie that into our newspaper databases to look at newspapers in Alaska, newspapers in Washington, and maybe there's editorials or analysis of laws. And you can save yourself a lot of problems down the road if you do some of that comparative research. Now, how does archives fit into the State of Oregon Law Library? I think you should think of as another information resource, and also to ask you the question as a source to answer the questions, like, is this good law? Can I get case law related to a topic or something like that? Wonderful people over there, very useful. But what's the difference between us and state archives? And I think this is a very important question. Well, the state archives is the institutional repository for all things legislative. Now, OLAS, the Oregon Legislative Information System, that's over at the legislature. Everything in OLAS ultimately does go to state archives, but OLAS is this huge back file to, I think it's the 2011 legislature or stuff. All the exhibits and things are on there. It gets a little thinner as you go back in time, but particularly the last 4, 5, 6 sessions, there are tons, and it's basically all there. But that material is going to go back. Eventually, it does live in state archives as well. But say you were looking at a bill that passed in 1981, and it really had an extreme effect on something that you need to study, and you need to know what did they talk about? What was the intent of that legislation and stuff? Archives is your friend. And then they also have archival information, or what we would call records, for your agency. So what is the difference between the state library and our publications and state archives and their records? So let's pretend for one moment that we are all on a task force. I think there's 27 of us here. So, and then Natalie and I, so that's 29 of us. The 29 of us have been assigned by the governor to be on a task force. And we are going to be dealing with this terrible situation of the invasive aardvark that is piling into Oregon. Aardvarks are coming over on rafts. They're coming in from the south. They're coming in from the north. The only place they're not coming from is the east. Let's say it's too dry. And they're eating all our ants. So we're having an impact. So they want to know what we should do about these invasive aardvarks. So we all get together as a group. We meet, we have ideas. Some of you have done some white papers on aardvarks. Some of you have done journal studies and reviews using our resources or other resources. And again, anything we don't have, we're going to hunt down for you and get for you. Not a live aardvark, but journal articles. But so we discuss, we have readings, we propose certain things. We have public meetings. And during those public meetings, we basically take testimony from people about their ideas on how to deal with the invasive aardvark. And at the very end of that, we come out with a draft report. And the draft report has our ideas of how we're going to deal with this problem. And the draft report goes out for, again, more comments and review. And we take that comments and review, and then we have more meetings. These meetings could be live. These meetings could be hybrid. They could be just purely online, et cetera. We take testimony again. And at the very end of it, we come out with a formal proposal, a formal publication of what we recommend we do about the invasive aardvark. We give that to the governor's office, but we print it. It's printed. Maybe it is literally printed. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's an electronic document only. That's what comes to the state library. That is what's come to the state library since territorial days. We get that stuff. But all that other stuff that went into making that formal publication, all the testimony, all the other stuff, the draft report, those are records, and that goes to archives. And that's the difference between us and state archives. I know when you're driving down the road and you look at the state archives building and you think, that's a pretty swanky building. And I think they have some pretty expensive carpeting in that building. It was kind of a boondoggle when they made it. It was pretty expensive. Not their fault. But what's the difference? What do they have in that marble building versus what we have in this marble building? So I hope that gives you a little bit of background. And with respect to newspapers, probably a lot of you know about this. We have a service, and if Natalie will put that in the chat, statelibrary.eclips.wordpress.com. We basically go through the newspapers and occasionally like New York Times, Washington Post. And what we're hoping to do is basically, this is like the newspaper gets thrown up on your doorstep and keeps you abreast of what's going on in the state. You can run searches on stuff. So I could do fish and wildlife if I want. We tag these stories. So if I find a fish and wildlife story, that searched it, but I can also do Department of Fish and Wildlife. I can go by source. And it basically, there is a huge back file on here, but it's mostly useful for keeping up with things. You don't really need to worry about paywalls and things that prevent you from getting to the story. If it's a source that we are subscribed to in our newspaper databases, there'll be a link right to the database so you can get into the story. And my friend Natalie there teaches a very lovely course in newspaper research. Even though newspapers maybe lose a little of their oomph, they're still extremely vitally important particularly when you want to do that comparative research work, may be an issue across the country. I think I'm going to conclude it at that. I think we're going to go to 45. I don't know how to stretch myself more than 5 more minutes. I could talk more about aardvarks, but I think you'd kick me out. So we are here to take questions. But again, you have friends in the library business now. When you get stuck, a lot of people want to do their own research, and more power to you. But if you're not finding what you want, or you're getting frustrated, or only have an hour to do stuff, but it's taking longer, think about us. Turn to us. That's what we're here for. We use these resources every day. We're more than happy to help you. In fact, we're paid to help you. And again, the invitation is standing. Please let us know if we can be of help, but let us know if we can give you a tour and show you what's behind these marble walls here at the State Library. We'd love to do that. And thank you so much for your time and your interest today. And just let us know what we could do to help. I'm going to stop sharing, and we're here for questions.
Yeah, great. Thank you guys so much. I haven't seen any questions drop in the chat yet, but if anybody has any questions that they want to ask, we've got, 2 State Library folks here ready to go. So anything library related, research related, feel free to ask.
Either that or I talked about aardvarks some more.
Also aardvarks. If you've got any aardvark related queries, now is the time to voice them.
Well, this is also an opportunity of probably a lot of you probably know what we do. And maybe some of you used us once and haven't used us for a couple of years. We're still here. We're still for you. But we want you guys to also be ambassadors when new people plop into your agencies, when there's new people that get hired. In addition to something like SORA, you're an ambassador for your agency to say, these are the resources that you guys can tie into. And that's one of the things that you can help us do for state employees onboarding. There are some agencies like Secretary of State. They require their new employees to take our intro class and to take our O'Reilly class, but we could work with you on that. But again, you guys can really help the new employees. So there is a question. Go ahead, Nat.
Yeah, Cynthia, I see your question. So we are kind of at the whim of the lending library. So it's how long they will let us have it. But usually when a library does interlibrary loan, they extend the checkout period because they know like we're dealing with the mail and things like that. But there's really not a single answer. It's usually longer than the 28 days from if it's just something in our collection. But yeah, it depends on who's lending it. But we can always renew, So.
Yeah, there are certain questions that or situations that happen where we have egg on our face, and that's one of my favorites. Is when book rate during the holidays, when something comes in so slowly that it actually shows up after it's due. So that has happened. You need to call us, let us know, we'll ask for a renewal. And if you ever had to send it back because the library said no, we need it back, we'll get it from another library for you if you still need it. So we're here to serve you. Yeah, it's theirs. It's theirs. One thing, if we see a book that's getting asked for all the time, that is probably a title that we're going to want to add to our collection. So then it would be easier for you to get because we would have it right here on hand. So.
Yep.
And again, these databases, definitely use them. We look at our access statistics all the time, and we're trying to figure out what's useful, what's not. These vendors that create these databases are definitely competing for dollars. And they add certain things, and maybe one falls behind. Maybe something that we bought a database for because it was really good at something. Another one is added that ability or that functionality, and we might pivot to do that. So we are looking at access stats a lot. Want to get that one, Nat?
Sure. Yeah. Audiobooks. So there are audiobooks immediately available in the O'Reilly database. Um, occasional audiobooks are a little tricky because of the digital element. So like it's hard for libraries to like interlibrary loan them. Same with ebooks. But sometimes. So always ask and we will try to get it. Definitely. Ebooks and audiobooks are a little trickier if we don't already have them in our collection, but we can finagle it a lot of the time.
And when you do an interlibrary loan with us, we kind of know what kind of the lay of the land. When you find that 1837 volume that only one library holds in Turkey, the chances of us getting a hold of it are probably pretty slim. But libraries talk to each other, and maybe they could scan the page 172 that you need out of that book. So always ask. Don't be dissuaded. And that kind of works, I think, the same way when you're using a database or you're using our library catalog and you think, surely they're going to have something on this. If you come back with null results or zero, you can accept that, but you can also turn to us and go, what's going on? Maybe I'm using the wrong word here. Maybe I'm using a word that is my vernacular, but it's not the vernacular the libraries use. Turn to us. That's what we do. Oh, I guess one other thing I should probably say the other side of this is we are your business library. We are your corporate library. We serve you to do the work of state government. That is a little bit looser than that really tight sentence because I would say like if you get migraine headaches because of overhead lights, you could use our databases on, massaging and how to get rid of a migraine headache. What we can't do for you is get you novels, popular reading, things like that, history of the Portland Trailblazers, unless maybe you work for travel and tourism or something like that. That's where we're going to basically ask you to go back to your local public library to serve you. So as long as we can make a case that it's related to the state, sure thing. Sure thing.
All right. Any final questions here? Right. Uh, Feel free to drop them in there while I'm talking, but seeing none at this stage. Um, oh, sorry, Natalie, did you want to say what this is that you just dropped in?
It's a link to a Trailblazers book in our collection. So
Ah,
I
nice.
just I just wanted, yeah.
Mhm.
History of the state of Oregon.
Yeah, it's relevant.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, like I said, feel free to drop in any last minute questions. But in the meantime, I think we can start to wrap up here. So, quick reminder, this meeting is being recorded. We'll have the webinar up on our YouTube channel and our website, oregonresearch.org, within the next couple days. So thank you all for being here, for participating. Thanks again to both of our presenters, Natalie and Jerry. We really appreciate you two coming out. And yeah, that's a good point too. Feel free to email them, contact them at any time with questions after this is done, anytime you run into anything you might be library related. Yeah. So thanks again. Haven't seen any questions pop up, so I think we can wrap up a few minutes early. Uh, Thank you all once again, and have a good rest of your day.
Yes. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you.